Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Contagious Smiles book launch for Miss Debbie. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. We have Debbie and Stephanie with us. I'm so excited. I'm so honored that you asked me to host this for the two of you beautiful ladies tonight. Stephanie has the privilege of being her daughter, and I've heard all about her. I feel like I've known her. And Debbie released her book today. Put it up there so everybody can see. I love this cover. It's called Finding Peace and Purpose Amongst the Tears. And it is an amazing book that really resonates and just really shows a love between a mother and child. It is a book of reflection, and it talks about healing and a devotion from a mother to a child, or her children, actually. And it is a must read. I was honored that she asked me to read it prior to print, and I couldn't put it down. I kept going back and forth to it. I kept reading it, reading sections of it over and over again, because it's a beautiful book. You feel like you're right there in the middle of it, which is a lot to say about the writer. And I'm just really glad you guys are both here.
Oh, I'm so honored to be here too with you on my day of launching the book.
Oh, I love it, love it, love it, love it. Stephanie, you have to be so proud of your mom.
I am definitely so proud of my mom. I watched her through the whole thing, from the start of writing the book until now. And it just amazes me how my mom accomplished this, especially going through something so painful. And she definitely inspires me. Her book is amazing. I cried basically the whole way through. It is just so touching. And my mom is so amazing and so talented. She really is a powerful woman.
That's amazing. Yes, that's sweet. Debbie, tell us, how's it feel? Your book is out there. It's out there live today. And congratulations, it's #1 in Canada already.
Thank you so much. It feels like so exciting, and it feels emotional at the same time because of the story and the writing of it, after losing my son, and then to finally hold it in my hands and share it with the world.
It is amazing. Stephanie, what was this experience like for you? I want to give you my deepest condolences. I'm so sorry for your loss. I feel like I got to know Alex, not just through the book, but I consider your mom one of my closest friends. And to hear everything, not just about Alex, but about you, it's an amazing family. And I just want to know, from your perspective as a sibling, what was this like for you?
It was definitely really hard. I love Alex, and we have another brother as well. Me and my siblings have always been very close, as well as our mom too. We were kind of a smaller but tight-knit family. It was definitely the hardest thing I've ever been through, losing my brother. He was always there for me. We got along so well. Of course, siblings have their ups and downs, but I love my brother so dearly. And kind of over the past few years, although I'm, his younger sister, I kind of felt a more nurturing instinct towards him, just because of everything he was going through. And he would always come to me if there was a problem with something, and we were very close. So losing him, it's hard to describe. I can't even compare it to anything. It was very difficult, and it still is, but I am just, trying to make peace with how it is, but it was very difficult.
And how are you doing now?
I'm starting to do better. Of course, it's a pain that, won't go away, but just that he doesn't have to be in pain anymore, kind of helps me deal with it. But I miss him very dearly.
Yeah. Your mom is a rock star. Oh my goodness. And I think she was very humble about describing herself in the book, because I already knew prior to, but anybody who doesn't know her, and then reads about her, knows that she has such a sensitive, loving motherness about her. And did that come across for all of the kids? Is that how she's been with all of you from day one?
Oh yeah, my mom. Oh yeah, 100%. She is all of our number one fans, no matter what I did. Whether it was, coming to my sporting events and being my number one fan, cheering me on in the crowd, or, if I was maybe doing something I shouldn't have been doing, my mom was always there. She is just a rock when it comes to us. She is just by our side nonstop. Our dad wasn't too present. So my mom kind of took over both roles and she just was there. And that's all I can say.
Well, I have to say that this beautiful young lady that I'm getting the privilege to talk to, Debbie, is a reflection of your mothering. I mean, she's amazing. This is the first time I've been able to talk to her face to face. I've heard all about her for a long time, but this is you. This is mini me here. And she's just amazing. And I see where she gets it from. Do you want to tell us about how this was for you writing the book? I mean, this book is just, it should be a must read. It really should, for so many reasons.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm so blessed to have Stephanie as my daughter. She's truly amazing. And I'm so grateful. And she was there with me through the entire writing the book, super supportive, my biggest cheerleader. I mean, that's a lot. So writing the book was an amazing experience for me. It connected me so much with my son. I really felt as if the information I lived through all of it, but I really feel like the memories of it was just flowing to me overnight, every single night in those early days after losing him. I barely slept at all. And the ideas for the book were just flowing so much. I had to write down, take notes all night long. And the information for the outline came to me in just one night. And I wrote it the next day, the whole outline. And it was, writing it was really therapeutic. It really helped me in the whole grieving process. And it really connected me with Alex, and it connected me with my purpose of helping other parents going through a similar situation with having a child with mental illness or addiction or both, or having lost a child.
Debbie, now that you have this amazing book published, what are you planning on doing with it?
I really want to share it with the world. So I plan on reaching out to treatment centers, starting locally, and then some others as well, all actually around the US, reaching out to them, sending them some copies that they can have on hand. Most of them have like a family day on the weekend where parents or siblings come in. So I was going to put some books on hand. That way they're aware of the book. If they flip through it and they're interested, they can always get a copy. And I was also going to see about if there were some that I could speak. And that way I could kind of share with the parents, because it's really traumatic. Like if you have a child that goes into a drug treatment center or a mental health treatment center, it's really stressful and it's really scary. And especially if it's the first time, but not even just the first time. I mean, even the consecutive times. But I just remember after, several hospitalizations, going there and seeing other parents walking either to the visitation hours or away, and with tears and crying. And I remember knowing like, okay, that was me that first time going there. That was me the first time he was in the mental hospital. And, I just want to see if I can help in some way. So I plan on taking my message basically to the world, contacting as many people in the mental health and drug addiction world as possible to let them know of my book, see if I can speak to parents, see if I can get copies out to them.
That is amazing. Tell everybody kind of the synopsis of what the book is about, just an overview.
Absolutely. So it is a memoir, and it goes through my journey. It goes through, my son was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder when he was 17 years old. And not long after that, he started using drugs and alcohol and shortly became addicted. And life was not easy. There were a lot of fears that I had. There were a lot of traumatic things that happened. There were a lot of really scary moments, and it was not easy. And I felt so alone when I was going through it, especially near the beginning. I didn't know anybody else who was dealing with this. Everybody else looked normal to me, except for me and my life. And it was really difficult. And so my book chronicles what I went through and how I ultimately did find my path to peace while he was still alive, so that I could have a really close, loving relationship with him, even though he was, as you'll read in the book, he was kind of on and off medication, in and out of hospitals, on and off drugs, in and out rehabs. But our relationship didn't depend on him having to be doing well. We had a close relationship. I was able to find my path to peace. So I share in the book, not just what we went through and chronicling it, I also share about what helped me. And then I share after his death, what helped me with the grieving. So he passed away when he was 26 years old. So about 9 years after he was suffering with mental illness and addiction.
And again, I'm sorry to both of you for your loss, and you'll never forget him. But you have plenty of favorite memories and stories. You actually started looking for other memoirs to kind of help you in the process. And I love this part because you found a memoir of a gentleman, and tell what happened when you read it and then reached out to actually him himself.
Yeah. So in the very early stages after losing him, when I was really just spending my time in bed, I remembered something that I learned from Tony Robbins is find somebody who's been through what you've been through and come out the other side and learn from them. And so I started ordering memoirs that were written of people sharing their story who had lost a child and then ultimately lost a loved one. And so the first one I read was by Jeffrey Olson. It was called Knowing. And it really touched me. I really felt connected. He had lost both his wife and his younger child in a car accident. And it's an amazing book, and I couldn't put it down. It helped me so much having that connection with somebody else who had lost a child, because I didn't know anybody in my real life who had lost a child. And right. That book just really, really touched me. And I went on to read a number of other books. And when I was finishing up writing my book, and I was looking for people who I might like to have endorse my book, I reached out to him, and he said he was happy to read my book and write an endorsement for me. So that's
amazing.
That was really touching for me because his book touched me so much.
That is amazing. I love that. He just, and he went ahead and did it for you. That's really special.
I know. I was so impressed because he's a big author and speaker, and I was really touched.
Yes. Everybody who's read it loves it. You had another person who endorsed your book who was a coach. And
I do. And she's amazing too. I trained through her with my coaching. I took a number of coach training sessions through her. Her name is Magli Pesha, and she is truly phenomenal in her coaching and her teaching coaches. She and her husband started their own company, and they've also worked alongside Tony Robbins through the Robbins Madonnas program. They founded Strategic Intervention and later the Coaching Institute.
That is amazing. Amazing.
And you too.
I did not. See, did you see that, Stephanie? I wasn't even going there. I wasn't. I love the fact Jeffrey endorsed her book because it was her first go-to, that's what I loved. I didn't drop my name. She did it. It was my honor to read it. And I just loved the love between you and Alex, and it was so apparent. And I know we've talked about it before. Mental health is a huge problem in this country, and probably more all over the world, but what we know mostly here in this country. And it infuriates me how people who need help are being treated. And I was telling your mom, I don't want to give anything away about the book at all, but one section of the book that I read over and over again. And it was so hard for me because when something transpired, and as soon as everybody reads it, they're going to know what I'm talking about. As soon as something happened, the way Alex was treated literally made me just see red. I was so mad at how he was mistreated when it wasn't warranted. The behavior did not warrant the action. And that is not uncommon. You're hearing about it more and more, and it has to get stopped. This has to stop. You know, everybody needs help. A mental health situation is no different than, God forbid, cancer. It's not something that people just wake up and say, I don't want to do this, so I'm just going to say I have this or I have that. It is something that is medically wrong. It is not just, a condition people just call and say they have. And they're not being treated that way. They're being treated in some instances like caged animals, and that's wrong. That's so not okay, at least not by me. I mean, and if they're being aggressive and abusive and physically violent, I understand. I understand the need to subdue. I understand the need to de-escalate. I understand, and I back that 1,000,000%. But when you have someone who is not being uncompliant, when you have someone who's not being disorderly, I don't understand the need for aggression. I mean, what are both of your thoughts about that?
I completely agree. It infuriates me the way that people with mental health issues are treated. It's awful. It makes, it's harder for people who have these things, to come forward and speak about it openly and share it with the world. I mean, it's awful. I could go on and on about how I feel about it, but it's not right.
Yeah, it's a problem all around. I didn't know at the time. Again, I thought we were alone in this situation, but it's actually in working with other parents, I've learned that it happens across the board. Unfortunately, many in law enforcement are not trained properly in mental health, or perhaps they just don't want to, go along with what they've learned. But particularly where we were living, it was a big problem, where when I would call for 911 help, for hospital help, for an ambulance, and in this particular case, it was to help me I believed he was going into a psychotic state, or he was in a psychotic state. I was really concerned he wouldn't come with me to the hospital. I was very worried. I called 911, and I specifically asked for an ambulance, and I elaborated about his mental health condition, and they sent the police. And that actually happened quite a lot when I had to call. I think there's some other places in the book. There's another place where he was hurt and unconscious and bleeding. Mm-hmm. And I called 911 and asked for an ambulance. And I said, he's unconscious, there's blood everywhere. And the police arrived probably a good 15 minutes before the ambulance, and they didn't seem concerned about him. They were just searching the house. So this wasn't the only time. I mean, this was the only time for us where he was taken away in handcuffs, but it's really sad, and it's happening so much. And I would really like to work on bringing this to light as a condition, really work on advocating for mental health awareness and the importance of handling these cases with people in a psychotic state.
And I can tell you from experience in multiple ways that even like special needs families, when they have a child that's autistic and officers come to the scene, that they might not know how to handle an autistic child or a nonverbal child. And then the officers sometimes, not always, but sometimes most of the time, they think that the child's being disruptive or non-compliant because why won't you talk to me? And then the officer gets more alert and more, afraid, or I don't want to say afraid, but we'll say on guard or whatever you want to use the term of. But you have to understand, like if you have someone that's nonverbal, or you have someone that has whatever the condition is, and it makes them it doesn't make them a bad person. If they're needing help, they're needing, and what makes me so angry as an advocate for domestic violence is, in my shoes, if you go to a scene, an officer goes to the scene, one of the most dangerous calls is domestic violence. So you arrive on the scene. They normally always have 2 officers for this call. One takes one takes the other. So normally it was a man and a woman. So today it could be woman, man, whatever the case may be, your partner. And one takes one takes the other. You get their stories, you get their side of what happened. Now, the rule now is that if they don't physically see something happening, and it's ridiculous. So let's say I have defense wounds and my ex has, like scratch marks. Well, more times than not, it's the one who's the victim at the time who gets incarcerated and the abuser doesn't. And that irritates me. I mean, the statistics talk for themselves. I mean, the actual abusers, like you get a restraining order, that just irritates them. You go and fight for yourself and self-defense, and we're the ones that get locked up. And it's, again, the fact that they are not looking at the whole picture. They're just walking in to, and if they're friends with the other assailant, or if that assailant is an officer or in the military, it's a whole different ballgame, because they all, for the most part, they always have their back. Not all, but most. So I absolutely agree with you on the fact that it does need to become awareness. And you are the perfect person to start bringing it to fruition about the fact that we need to retrain not only law enforcement, but the EMTs, the paramedics. I mean, I've seen so many times where they're just quick to sedate them, and why do you have to do that? I mean, what if they're a recovering addict and you just sedate them and push them back even further in their recovery? I mean, like that would have been the case with Alex, right? You're just giving him something to sedate him. Wouldn't that have really put him back more in his addiction recovery?
Oh, absolutely. And also taking him off to jail, that's not going to help him get the help that he needs in either addiction recovery or mental health recovery. It's just not right. And he wasn't doing anything.
And a lot of times when people with mental health issues are taken to jail, whether they're there for 3 nights or 3 months, or anywhere in between, they're typically not given their medication. So if Alex or anyone was in there for a week, he would likely be off his mental health medication for that week that he's there.
And then he would get in trouble for his behavior. They would put him in solitary or whatever the case may be because he wasn't acting right. But that's just like taking away, medicine from someone who's going through something else, That's what I just don't get it. I mean, and so much change needs to happen because this isn't right.
It really does. I mean, we were fortunate and we had an amazing attorney that specifically worked for mental health people. And so she was really an expert at this. And so he didn't have to serve any jail time. But I know many others who have gone through similar experiences where they were just wanting help for their son's mental illness. And of course, their child might be on drugs too, but the thing is that the law enforcement are just not understanding as what it's like to be in a psychotic state, and that person needs hospital treatment, not jail. And so there are many that have had to serve jail time. And like Stephanie said, they're not given their medication. They're not given any kind of psychiatric care or counseling or any types of things that they might be getting outside of jail. So it's not helpful.
Right. And one of the things that I love and we're doing is I'm watching on the camera. I keep looking up at Ray. I was telling you guys earlier, our whole property is recorded and we have someone who's getting their forever little puppy right now. And how that would make such a difference. I also believe too, to have that support, that, emotional support there to help them feel like, they're loved, because that's all these dogs do is make you feel loved and wanted. And it's something that's simple that can make such a dramatic change. And now everybody, at least, I think, Deb and I were pretty close in age. Stephanie, you're blessed to be behind us, but so much today is so different because today it just seems like everybody wants to go Mach 1 to the dramatic, Mach 1 to worst case scenario. Why can't we look at the situation as something that this person needs our help and we have the ability to help them. So let's do it. Let's help. Let's put our hand out and show them they're worth fighting for. And let's do it. Instead of, oh, we're going to tie them up, lock them up, throw away the key, not medicate them, not give them any help, not give them anyone to talk to. And it just makes matters worse. And it makes them feel like they don't feel that they should fight for themselves because no one else is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm glad that we have Mental Health Awareness Month, but I know so much more progress needs to be made in making people aware of mental health issues.
Absolutely. Now, before we tell everybody where to find your amazing book, I want each of you to tell me your favorite funny Alex story. All right, Steph, you got to go first.
Okay, let me think. Well, Alex was definitely one of the funniest people that I know. He was always joking about literally everything. He could be, you know, upset about something, but he'll find a way to make a joke and make everyone in the room laugh. He was always joking around. You know, there was some friends in high school that we all knew, and Alex would, you know, do his best imitations of people. He was great at imitations. He would be dancing. He just always lit up the room. I'm trying to think of a particular story, but Alex was hilarious. I'm telling you, though, he had the best imitations.
Did he ever do anything that he didn't want her to know about because he could have gotten in trouble, like snuck out, you know, did any fun pranks, anything like that?
Yeah, he definitely did. I feel like my mom ended up finding out about most of the things, but I do remember when he was in high school. So he must have been in 12th grade and I was in 8th grade. And at this point he was sleeping in the basement. His room was in the basement of our townhouse. So me and my mom were upstairs, Alex is in the basement, and we had a back door in the basement as well. So he snuck out. And I think he went to go meet up with his girlfriend at the time. And he comes back in and I'm downstairs getting water at like 4 a.m, maybe it is. I hear the door open. So I kind of peek down the steps and I see him coming back in and I'm like, Alex, what are you doing? And he's just like, hey, Steph, what's up? Acting like it's completely normal. And I'm like, and he's like, you should be asleep. You have school tomorrow. I'm like, you should be asleep. You have school tomorrow.
Right. And then he's like, here's a 5. Don't tell mom.
Yeah.
All right, lady. Share your favorite story.
Actually, my favorite story is not necessarily funny, but it was just a really amazing moment that sticks out for me. So before he had the mental illness and the addiction, he loved sports and he played soccer for many, many years. And he loved it. It was like his passion. Like he literally would just, you know, play soccer all the time, every opportunity he got. And there was this one tournament where it was a tie and it went into overtime, and it was the season finale. I think it was called the All-Star Tournament. So it was the final thing for the season. It went into overtime and he kicked the winning goal, and all his teammates like lifted him up in the air. And I was just crying. I was just like, I had so many tears, like to see that happening as a mom, and like just to see like he was so passionate about soccer. Like, you know, we went to the professional games to watch, and he wanted to be on travel. So we traveled and went to, you know, events for soccer, and he was just so passionate about it. So that moment is one that really sticks out in my mind.
You know, he's so proud of the both of you. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I definitely know that. I tell my mom all the time how proud of her I am for, you know, writing her book and accomplishing all that stuff. And I always tell her that I know Alex is super proud of her too, watching her. And I know that Alex is always with me too. And that definitely helps. When I'm missing him, I just know that he's watching over both of us and just cheering us on.
You did an amazing job with these two. And I know they have a brother. I haven't met him yet, but like you've done an amazing
too.
Yeah. You've done an amazing job with these guys. And you know, Alex is so proud. and so honored that you're living on his legacy and talking about him. And you could just feel so much love in this book. And that alone is a reason to read it. It's just the connection between you and him, and the devotion of you as a mom, handling everything with grace. And I know as a special needs mom how challenging it can get, but you maintained your composure throughout. And I know there had to be times where you were just like wanting to put your face in a pillow and scream, because you wanted to help more than you already were. You didn't know what else you could do. You didn't know where to turn to. You felt like you were letting him down. You didn't. You did not. Let me just tell you, you didn't. You helped him continue. You helped him go on. You helped him be happy. And he knew how much he was loved. You could tell that tenfold, no question. You never failed him. You helped him succeed, and you helped him every step of the way. And you should really, really be proud of yourself, Debbie. I mean it.
Thank you. I feel really blessed to have had the relationship that I had with him. I really do. To be able to think back on so many wonderful memories, even memories after he became addicted and had mental illness. He would get so excited for family. Like, he lived for family. Every time we'd all get together and we'd plan it, he would just be talking about it for days. And so we got together. It was really amazing. And I do feel blessed that I had all of those memories. And I know that was a big part of our healing in the early days, is Stephanie and myself and my other son, when we'd get together, we would share those memories with each other and kind of get caught up in living in those memories. And it was really, I feel blessed that I had the time that I did have with him. I wished I had longer, a lot longer, but I feel blessed that I did have 26 years with him.
Debbie, tell everyone where to find this book.
Yeah, so it's on Amazon.com. You can find it at BarnesandNoble.com.
We need to find it on everyone's bookshelf. Just saying. It has been my honor to do this with you both. You both are beautiful inside and out. And thank you so much for what you're doing. And however I can support, I want to do so.
Thank you so much.